Hey guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. Thank you so much for being here. I know it's taken me a bit to get my second video uploaded, but I actually filmed a whole other video, and while I was editing it, I just felt really bored by it, and so I thought there's no way I can upload something for you guys to watch. If I'm feeling bored, you were gonna feel bored. So my other video that I had recorded, I was actually trying to do like a cooking and a story time video, because one of the things that was on my bucket list was learn a signature dish and become known for it. So I don't really know how you're supposed to become known for a dish unless you're like a chef or something, but I was just taking that to mean just practice cooking more, because that is something that I enjoy doing, but I don't do enough of. So I probably will do some like cooking vlogs, but I think I need to focus on just cooking because I'm a really bad multitasker. And I know that, but I was literally like just trying to bake cookies. So I thought for sure I can do that and like talk about one of my life experiences. Turns out I couldn't. What is going on with my hair? I literally have 3 steps to do and I've done like none of them. Fuck. Ugh. It's fine. It's a cookie, it's fine. So I had to just scrap it. But anyways, I'm going to tell that story today. I have been out and about a bit today. I did actually another bucket list item, which was to donate blood. I went and donated blood this morning. It's something I've done before, but I haven't done it in a long time. Whenever I was in the Army, they would do mobile blood drives a lot, where they'd have the van come out and you could go donate blood there. And that was something I did a lot, but I guess just because it's kind of like out of sight, out of mind, if you don't have that in a place where you're like working or going to school, then you just don't really like think to donate blood. But it is something that like we all, or like a lot of us, are capable of doing, and we just don't do it. So this is your reminder. If it's something you're interested in, go donate blood. The place that I went, they actually have a chart on their website that shows how many days of a supply they have for each blood type, and some of the blood types they didn't even have like a full day's worth of a supply for. So if you can, if you're eligible to do it, definitely encourage you to go donate blood, because it is pretty cool that they can just take your blood and like give it to somebody else that's, you know, been in an accident or is in a surgery or whatever. Like, you can help save a life. So yeah, I went and did that this morning. Definitely encourage you guys to go donate blood if you're eligible to do it. Just a reminder to go do that. And if you're like me, someone who's highly motivated by food, then you can book an appointment at a place that's near somewhere you'd like to eat. I actually just went and picked up food from my favorite place called Tarka. There's only one in San Antonio, and now that I moved downtown, it's pretty far away from me. So when I was looking for somewhere to go donate blood, it was a huge plus that this place happened to be nearby. So I went and got myself some coconut curry, and it was amazing. So as I mentioned, I did try to record another video, and besides cooking, the story that I was going to tell was my story of how I got into photography and what that experience has been like. So I'm just going to tell that really briefly right now. As I was thinking about it, why the other video is probably boring is that I just don't know if that's even like an interesting story to tell, but a couple people have asked about it, so I'm just gonna kind of give you guys the brief version of how that happened. So basically it came about because a friend like suggested that I do it. I have a friend who is one of those people that's all about like seizing the day and like going out and living life to the fullest, kind of the way that I'm trying to live my life now. But at the time, that message just didn't really resonate with me. At the time, I was just like a broke college student, like trying to get by. I was like not really concerned about traveling the world or like doing all these amazing things. Like, that just wasn't a personal goal of mine. But anyways, one day we were talking and he kind of asked me like, what are some things that you've like wanted to do and you just haven't, because of one reason or another you told yourself that you couldn't? And I told him like, I don't really have things like that. Like, I don't have like regrets. So he gave me a few suggestions, and some were like, you know, traveling, starting a business, learning a new skill, doing a photo shoot. And I was like, yeah, I guess I would do that. Like, of all the things you said, like doing a photo shoot is one that I would probably be the most interested in. So he was like, okay, then just do it. Like, find a photographer, book a shoot, just do it. Like, stop thinking about it. Stop like taking forever to plan. Just go out and do it. And in that moment, I was like, okay, yeah, sure, I'll do it. So I went on Google and looked around at some photographers here, and I found someone who is still a friend to this day. His name is Oscar, and his company is called Vanity Boudoir. I had found his website, liked his work. I followed him on Instagram. He ended up following me back and actually sent me a message just to say that he, liked my page, and like it'd be cool if one day we could work together. I was like, yeah, like totally, I love your work, that would be awesome. So he suggested that we meet up for coffee. So I ended up meeting up with him, and super nice guy. Turns out that we were both in the Army, so we talked about that for quite a long time. But then he started telling me about his business and about, what doing a photo shoot with him would be like. And it sounded amazing. But the more that he talked, I really started getting kind of nervous, because I had looked at his website and I saw what he charges for a photo shoot, which is totally reasonable. I mean, photography is not cheap. But as I mentioned, I was like a broke college student, and I just started getting really scared that I was like, oh my God, I'm just wasting this guy's time, because there's no way that I can pay him to do this photo shoot. And so I really just started getting very nervous, and like kind of felt bad that I was taking up his time and like wouldn't be able to afford to do a photo shoot with him. But eventually he said something along the lines of like, when working with models, that they do like a trade for photos. So both people are investing their time. The model gets photos for their portfolio, and he gets photos for his own and for marketing purposes. Because in boudoir, obviously a lot of his clients are doing a photo shoot for themselves, or maybe their significant others, but they don't necessarily want it put onto social media. So he works with models to have things to post, essentially, and have marketing material for himself. So at that point, I realized like, oh my God, wait, is he saying like I get to do this for free? Like, I was pretty pumped. It was pretty cool, to be honest. But then the self-doubt came in, and I was like, oh my God, we have to get X amount of photos. And what if I'm just totally wasting his time because I'm gonna suck, and all the photos are gonna suck, and neither one of us are gonna like the outcome. Of course, like self-doubt always creeps in. But no, the day of the shoot, I was so freaking nervous, and looking back at the photos, I still really like the photos, but I can definitely see that I just look like a bit deer in the headlights. Like I was totally freaked out and scared and nervous. But Oscar was amazing. He helped me a lot on the day of the shoot, helping me with posing. I literally just like stood there and was like, tell me what to do, because I was so awkward in front of a camera. But he really helped me through it. And at the end of the day, I got more good shots than I thought I was going to get. I liked a lot of the photos, and it was a really good first experience into photography. Of course, after we posted those photos onto Instagram, other photographers were reaching out, not because I'm like amazing, but just because, every photographer needs models or people to practice with. So I have altogether worked with a handful of people. I learned pretty quickly that I did prefer to just take my own photos. That's where I really felt like the most creatively free, and I got the most enjoyment out of doing that. But the majority of people that I've worked with were amazing. There was one bad seed in the bunch. I had one bad experience out of all the photographers that I worked with, and I'll talk about that in a minute. But I just wanted to say I am going to link a few of the other photographers that I've worked with. If I'm forgetting somebody, I'm sorry. There's not that many, so hopefully I can find everybody's Instagram and tag them, because I think that being able to work with somebody that's, for one, just like a good person, but then also like super talented, and you get to like share your creativity with them, that's a really fun experience. Mostly that has been the case for me. But as I said, I did have one bad experience with a photographer who I hesitate to get into like too much detail, but basically y'all know, like if you're doing boudoir, lingerie, whatever type of photos, like that's a situation that can get dicey pretty quickly. In this case, I actually agreed to do a photo shoot with this guy. He had a lot of Instagram followers. His photos were great. He had like tagged models that he'd worked with. Like it just seemed legit, and there was nothing that like really gave me a red flag. Even other photographers that I know or that I've worked with followed him too, which kind of like added to the credibility of him. But at the end of the day, like I didn't know him. He was a stranger. And on top of that, he lived in Austin, which is like an hour away from where I live. So I ended up in a situation where I was meeting someone for the first time in a city like an hour away, doing a photo shoot with very little clothing on. And like there were certain boundaries that I kind of told him ahead of time, like I didn't want to pose nude, I didn't want to like show anything. And once I got there, he just kind of like suggest things. I'd be like, oh, I don't really want to do that. And he'd be like, well, you know, we'll cover it like in the shot, and like the way you pose, like you won't see anything. But then when the camera turned on me, like the situation was a little different. It's a tough one because for one, I don't want to like give creepy people a pass, like male or female. If you're being creepy and like low-key trying to infringe on someone's boundaries, I think that you should be called out for that. However, I also do believe in like personal accountability and standing up for yourself, but I just want to express that like in the situation that I was in, you just don't want to escalate the situation, right? Like if he's asking me, there were moments that he was like touching me, which I now look back and I'm like, that was kind of uncomfortable, but it was for like a certain look. At the time, these photos, you've probably seen them where like a man's hand is like gripping. Oh no, my camera's getting too hot. Okay, we're just gonna put you guys here next to the air conditioning vent and hope that it's still recording. So yeah, basically, situation just got like little weird things kind of took a turn that I wasn't really like down for. But what I was saying is you just don't want to escalate the situation. Like I didn't want to accuse him of doing anything wrong because you don't know how someone's going to react, right? If he thinks that I'm like accusing him of assaulting me or harassing me, you don't know how that person's going to react. And when you're like an hour away and somebody else is home, this person you just met, you're by yourself in very little clothing, you kind of just go into survival mode a bit, or like you just want to get it done so you can like get out of there and like not have any confrontation, because at the end of the day, you just don't want it to turn into like a you versus him situation. So I do have like some regrets about that situation. It's not an easy thing to talk about because it is a very nuanced conversation that I could probably do like a whole video on. But at the end of the day, I just wanted to share that so that people who are maybe just getting into photography or like modeling are aware of like how often that this stuff probably really happens. That particular photographer ended up deleting his page like several times, and I remember him posting that a couple models had filed reports against him for like harassment, and of course he was upset and saying that they were just trying to ruin his career and all that. But me, having been in that same situation with him, was like, well, yeah, you're kind of a creep, so that's what happens. But beyond that, I did want to give a couple of tips to anybody who is starting modeling. These are probably tips that you've heard often. I heard them even before I started doing it, and it's really easy to like know that people can be creepy, and you hear the tips that you should follow and you're still like, oh, I'll be fine. Right? But really seriously, some of these tips can really help you avoid a very strange situation. Oops. Okay, I think it calmed down a bit. Let me see if I can finish this video without it overheating again. What's going on here? So I wanted to give a few tips if I were to be in this situation for the first time all over again, some things that I would do differently. So first and foremost, really, really, really check out their Instagram. It's not like a foolproof way of verifying that someone is not a creep. And just because they have a lot of followers doesn't mean that they're not a creep. But what I mean by this is go onto their page. They probably are going to have models tagged. Reach out to some of those models. Reach out to them and just say like, hey, I'm thinking about doing a photo shoot with this person. How was your experience like? Would you recommend working with them? If you're scared that some of those models are going to go to him and be like, oh yeah, this chick or this dude was asking about you, if they have a problem with that, that's your first red flag, right? Like they shouldn't have a problem with you asking other people that they've worked with what their experience was like. Because if they had a good experience, they're just going to have like great things to say about that person, and it's going to make you want to shoot with them even more. So at the very minimum, I would reach out to other people that I know have worked with that photographer and see what their review on that person is. I know it's a bit hard to do sometimes, but if you can, bring somebody with you, especially if you're like going to be in their homes. I'm not saying that a photographer shooting out of their home is not legit. I know plenty of people that do that, But if you're going to be meeting someone for the first time and going to their home, really, really, really try to have somebody with you. Because as I said before, what you don't want is just like a you versus them situation. And if you do kind of get like caught in a weird dynamic with them, if you don't have somebody with you, it makes it harder for you to feel like you can speak up. So try to have somebody with you if you can. If you can't, my last tip is, and even if you can't have somebody, it's still a good idea, see if you could meet them ahead of time of the shoot. So like I did with Oscar, you know, he asked me like, hey, do you want to go meet up for coffee and we'll just like chat? Getting to know that person before you go do a photo shoot with them is going to be good for two reasons. For one, obviously you kind of get a feel of whether this person's like a creep or not, right? Or if they're just doing photo shoots because they want to see girls in like very little clothing, they're probably not going to invest the time to like go meet each one of them ahead of time, right? Like they just want to get the most amount of girls over in their house in their underwear as they can. So you can kind of like weed out the creeps that way. And also, even if you don't have any suspicions that they're like not a cool person, it's good because you're just more comfortable with them. Like you're going to be doing a photo shoot, whether you're in your underwear or not, even if you're wearing normal clothes, it's still so intimidating for a person to turn the camera on you. Unless you're like a pro, but in the beginning, you know, you have an idea of what it's going to be like in your head, but then as soon as they're standing there with the camera and they're like, okay, pose, it's so awkward. So at least having a bit of a rapport with that person and knowing them on a little bit more of a personal level instead of it just being a complete stranger behind the camera, I think is going to help you at least get better pictures and have a better time on your photo shoot. So those are my 3 tips. If you are just starting to work with photographers, really consider doing at least 2 of those. I know it's hard to get someone to go with you on a photo shoot, but I think if you can do the other 2 things, that's gonna help you like be safer, have a better time, and get better photos. So previously when I was recording this video, I did ask on Instagram if anybody had any questions about like what my photography journey has been like. And I did get a few questions, but honestly, it's been so long that I don't remember all of them. I'm really sorry. One of them was if I ever have like worked with other people, whether it's other people shooting me or me shooting other people. For me, I really just feel better doing my own thing. Like self-portraits, I feel are just way more creatively fulfilling to me. But on the other side of it too, like I have tried to shoot other people a couple times and I still just feel like I just feel a bit lost when I'm doing that. I don't know. I need to just be like in a room with me and my camera, and I feel like that's when the creativity like really flows for me. Another question somebody asked was if photography was solely a hobby for me or if I was ever trying to make money from it. I kind of did want to make money from it, but because I learned very early on that self-portraits were what I enjoyed the most, but is also almost impossible, pretty difficult to try to make money from that. So I kind of knew that that wasn't going to be an option for me, or I kind of knew that that was going to be harder to achieve and really didn't like depend on that. I was just kind of enjoying the creative process of it. And then the last question that I can remember that somebody asked me was if I have any photography icks. I can't say that I do, really. I don't really have too many things that like personally like bother me. I just feel like if people like whatever you want to shoot, like go for it. I guess like a personal ick of mine, something that I don't like in the type of photos that I was shooting, because it was more lingerie and like more of a sensual kind of setting. I think for me the ick there is like very aggressive posing or like being too on the nose with it being like sexy. I struggle to give specific examples because I don't want anybody to think that I'm shaming them, but I would say like one thing I don't like very aggressive like eye contact. Like if I'm almost naked and I'm like staring down the camera with like my legs split open, like it just feels a little too like sexually aggressive to me, and I always like to try to be a little more on the sensual side. So that's like a personal ick for me, I guess, in my own photography. But other than that, I don't think I really have any. Okay, well, my camera is overheating again. It's not even warm in here. I don't know what's wrong with this thing. A couple other things I just wanted to say really quickly before I leave you guys. I'm thinking, hopefully, knock on wood, that my next video is going to be a pretty exciting one. I have something pretty fun on my bucket list. Fun and terrifying. I'm honestly so scared of it. It does require me to book tickets for it, and I need to make sure that like the weather is good. So once I get paid again next week, as long as those conditions are met for next weekend, I think I'm going to try to book my tickets for that. So something scary that requires tickets and needs good weather. Those are your clues. Guess down below what do you think it is that I'm going to be doing. I'm terrified, but I'm excited too. And then other than that, I am going to put some footage here. Milo had his birthday last week. He turned 1 year old. So I have a few clips here just to show you guys how I celebrated his birthday. But if you'd like to give him some birthday wishes too, then that's much appreciated. Thank you guys so much for joining me again, and I will see you in the next video. Bye. It's time for Milo's portion of the video. Look how cute this is. It's his little Valentine's Day bark box. Oh my gosh. All right, it's your time to shine, Milo. You ready for your bark box? Come here, honey. Oh, hurry up, Milo. The battery is dying. What you got? You need some help. Oh, he found something. And he's off. What'd you get? What'd you get? Look at the happiness. Look at the pure joy. So cute.